This meeting is also held virtually through technology, but there are also many ways for interested parties to participate in the gathering. The City of Asheville's Engagement Hub includes a variety of links and phone numbers, which can be found on the Multimodal Transportation Commission page of the City of Asheville's website. Visiting this page is the best way to take part in our virtual meetings. I'm gonna do roll call right now. It's a little different, see people, feels more official, I don't know. All right, so roll call. When I call your name, if you'd introduce yourself and let the group know what interests you represent. So I'll start with Vice Chair Kenny Armstrong, who's saying his name.
Hello. I am an at-large member. I serve as the vice chair, and I 2 kids, 1 car, a couple of dogs. I took the bus and I walked to get here today.
Right on, Kenny.
Nice.
Joe Chesler.
Yes, good afternoon, Joe Chesler. I'm a West Asheville resident. I'm on the transit committee and love what we're doing. I rode my bike today.
Welcome, Joe. Leanna Joyner.
Leanna Joyner, I represent the Active Transportation Committee, which I also serve on for the city, and I'm a West Asheville resident and glad to be here.
Awesome, Bill.
Bill Loftus, I'm on the transit committee. I drove my car today, regrettably. It turns out I had a trip that I couldn't make the second stop with transit, but next time I'll be on the trip.
Awesome, Bill. Good to have you, Elise.
Hi, I'm Elise Martyr. I'm an at-large representative. I also live in West Asheville, and I took the bus and walked here as well.
Kate.
Yes, Kate Ryba, West Asheville resident, and also walked here, and have the right number of bikes, which is always one more.
Yeah. Randy, I do expect Randy to join us. He's not here yet. Mike?
Hi, I'm Sikowski. I'm an at-large member, and I'm a recently mobile pedestrian.
Yay!
Awesome, Mike. I'm glad you were able to join us. I'm Jack Ugman. I'm the chair, and I drove my car today. So I've been in Swannanoa and West Asheville and everywhere. And I'm a West Sider, so it's nice to be here on the West Side. I'd also like to welcome our council liaison, Maggie Ullman. And we'll be missing Jake Smith, who is our non-voting commission member, representing the neighborhood association, and Jared Wheatley from P&Z. I don't see Jared yet. And Randy, would you introduce yourself?
Hi, Randy Warren. I'm the Multimodal Transportation.
You're in the right place.
I've been here the longest of anybody.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Welcome.
I'm excused, probably sorry about
No, you're good. We have all of our voting members, so we have a quorum today, which is great, because we do have a couple of motions that we need to pass. I'd also like to raise your hand if you're an employee of the city of Asheville. There are many of y'all, and awesome. So nice to have you. And raise your hand if you're a member of the public just joining us. Yay. Excellent, y'all. Thanks for coming. The format of this meeting today is we're going to spend 30 minutes going through some regular business, approving the minutes. We have some new orders of business, some old orders of business to sort out. And then hopefully at around 3:30, we're gonna break into small groups in which the public is invited to join us. And the goal of today is to really learn about some of the projects that connect with each other throughout the city. So I'll explain that format and sort of how we'll rotate. Hopefully we'll have some rich discussion. We'll come back together around 4:30, 4:40 as a big group to have sort of a debrief and a wrap-up discussion. And that'll be commission members initially to participate, but during the small group rotation, anyone who wishes to join us from the public is welcome to join in. So again, I'll explain that as we get going. So our first item of business is to approve the agenda for this meeting, August 28th, 2024. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Is there a second? Okay, Joe seconds. Is there any discussion, any changes, anything before we vote on approving the agenda? And maybe just to expedite this, all in favor of approving the April 28th agenda? You raise your hand. Any opposed? Okay, so that passes. Thank you all. The minutes, is there a motion to approve the July 24th, 2024 minutes, our previous meeting?
Elise, so moved.
Is there a second?
Leanna.
Leanna, is there any comments or discussion around the minutes?
Thanks for the detail.
Yeah,
Yeah,
thank you so much for whoever is putting that detail in.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful and helpful.
I'm not sure who gets credit for that. We should. Yay,
Thank you.
Nicole, yay. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that detail.
Yeah, it's really helpful. Yeah, thank you for saying that. Okay, all in favor of approving the July 24th minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Staying, I wasn't here.
Okay.
Oh, I listened to the majority of the recording, but I'm not sure if I
Yeah, that's fair.
feel like I can't vote.
Yeah, that's fair. The motion passes and the minutes are approved. I'm gonna roll into public comments and I'm gonna open the floor to public comments. I'd like to limit the public comments to 3 minutes so we don't take up too much time. I'll keep that time. And if anyone wishes to make a public comment, I'll give you a 30-second warning as your time. And I have a couple to read that came in via email. The other thing that I want to mention before we go into public comments, this was pointed out to me that I've deviated a little bit from our bylaws in past meetings, so I want to get us out of the ditch just a little bit. And as we hear a public comment, we are I don't know how to say this exactly, but our bylaws prohibit us from discussing that particular item. So if we hear a public comment that we're interested in discussing, someone from the floor from the commission is welcome to make a motion to add a discussion about that item on a future agenda, if that makes sense. And I think that's good. That way we're not derailed during public comments, and hopefully we get good public comments that we want to discuss in the future. So feel free. I don't know that we need to make a formal motion, but that's how I'll do it. If you wish to, like, oh yeah, we want to talk about that, I'll make a motion that here's what should be on the agenda item. So I guess first off, I'll invite any members of the public who'd like to make a comment. Is there anyone who wants to make a public comment? We have one.
Can I go after the red ones? Is that possible? Can I go after those?
Yes, yeah, that'd be fine. Oh yeah, totally. Okay, so we got Tim Watkins is gonna make a public comment. Anyone else who wants to get on the list? All right, so I have 2 emails that came in that were requested to be public comments for this meeting, and I'm gonna read them. I think they'll each take under 3 minutes. And the first one is from Claudia Nix, who chairs the Active Transportation Committee, which is, as you know, a subcommittee of our commission. And dear Deborah Campbell, manager, and Deborah Campbell, manager, and MMTC committee, the Active Transportation Subcommittee is dedicated to enhancing the comfort and accessibility for individuals who by choice or circumstance do not rely on motor vehicles for transportation in our community. We are committed to ensuring that our city streets are fully inclusive. As such, we would like to be involved in the hiring process for the new transportation director position. We advocate for a commitment to adopting the NACTO design guidelines and a strong dedication toward the Complete Streets guidelines. It's critical to enhance the comfort and accessibility of our streets for pedestrians and all active transportation users. Establishing well-connected pathways is essential to reducing our reliance on automobiles without creating unobstructed and complete streets for non-car travel. Meaningful changes in how people move around our town will remain elusive. We hope you will consider involving us in the hiring process. Sincerely, Claudia Nix, Chair. All right. Our second comment is in regards to an incident on Sulphur Springs Road. And this is from a resident, someone who lives on Sulphur Springs Road, Rebecca Knorr Hartman. Dear committee members, I am unable to make the meeting this Wednesday, so wanted to provide some input that I would have described in person otherwise. On Sunday afternoon, I was gardening in front of my house when I heard cars screeching and honking over and over, then came racing in front of my house, side by side, going approximately 50 to 60 miles per hour, and clearly in the middle of a road rage engagement. Thank God I had stepped out into my driveway at that moment. They continued down the street in this manner for a few blocks before I lost sight of them, but I could still hear it. Just a few minutes before that, 2 children were riding their bikes in that same place. My neighbors were cleaning up fruit in the street that had fallen from their tree, and I was in the street gardening on the non-sidewalk side of the street. So scary to think of what would have happened if they came just a few minutes earlier, but we should not have to live or think this way, should we? I posted this incident on West Asheville Exchange today, I believe that's a Facebook page, and have been inundated with other neighbors who witnessed the incident as well and are outraged. It's simply unacceptable. We live in this neighborhood, walk our kids to school just a few blocks away, and have a public park where lots of people walk their pets, play with their kids, and would like to feel safe. And yet, we don't feel safe to cross the street or take a walk for fear that people who just don't care about human life will come racing down the street. I understand that this is an emergency route and it's not ideal to have speed bumps installed, so we must come to another solution to keep Sulphur Springs Road safer for our children and families. Stop signs and speed limits are ignored routinely, so we need a stronger deterrent to the ongoing crazy speeding in our neighborhood. Thank you, Rebecca Knorr Hartman. And Sulphur Springs Road is on connects to Haywood Road, just about a mile down. And I don't know, what do you call Sulphur Springs Road in terms, I don't know, not a side street, but
Secondary. It acts as a residential collector road.
yeah, okay, so that gives you an idea. Yeah, anyway, thank you, Rebecca, for your submitting your comment. Tim, you are on, yes, Joe, sorry.
I think that warrants some discussion at a further, a future meeting, if that's appropriate. You asked for
A motion, yeah, is that a motion?
If it does, I thought you said you were gonna make it informal, but yes. if it-
Yeah, make it a
motion is
yeah.
So the traffic calming policy is on our list of topics for future
That's right.
agenda meetings. I would certainly support prioritizing that as soon as possible to hear about that, because I know from a neighborhood, also serving on the neighborhood advisory committee, a lot of our neighbors are concerned about that too, and I'd like to be able to bring some information to them.
Yeah, so Joe, let's make it formal, let's set that
Yeah.
standard, so if you'd make
So
a
moved.
motion,
So moved.
okay, and clarify the motion.
Well, that the Sulphur Springs incident and I guess recurring problems be prioritized under the traffic calming planning discussions in future meetings, in any future meeting.
Yeah, is there a second?
Second.
Bill seconds that. Any other discussion around that before we vote on that motion? Anything else to add?
Chris needed more to do.
Yeah. All in favor of that motion? Any opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thanks. Okay, so, Tim, now, the floor is yours, public member Tim Watkins.
Great, yeah, Tim, I have a lot to say, so I'm gonna talk quickly. I'm here to talk about traffic calming as well. About a year ago, I sent this group an email with like 4 or 5 major flaws of the traffic calming policy, and it's been on future topics of the agenda since, and it hasn't come up. So I wanna highlight maybe one of the problematic parts of it. Basically, in the policy, it says traffic engineering staff will present a toolbox of traffic calming options to the neighborhood. And then it literally in the next paragraph, it says, based on council direction in March 2008, the only traffic calming devices that will be considered are speed bumps or speed cushions, either the asphalt or bolt down types. First, do we have any bolt down types in our city? I've seen them all over the southeast. I saw them in Toronto, so if snowplows are a concern, it's not a concern. Other cities are dealing with it. But this is overly limiting. We all know that there are a whole host of traffic calming measures that we could be using, but we're not. A lot of them are light, fast, cheap. Flex posts, paint, whatever those like concrete stops are when you pull up to a parking space. I'm seeing cities use those for all sorts of purposes, reusing those. So I think we could take out this paragraph and let Chris have a whole toolbox of options for presenting to a neighborhood. We also have a close the gap plan greenway typology that is traffic calm streets with wayfinding. It's a neighborhood greenway. And I don't think we've even done any of them. How many miles of neighborhood greenway could we create for 1 mile, the same price as 1 mile of arterial or spine greenway? We have a budget issue, so we should be looking at ways to get creative about making our streets safer and increasing the walkability and bikeability of our neighborhoods. And it's my understanding that next year we may get a consultant to look into the traffic calming policy, but that's an RFP, that's getting bids, that's finding a consultant, that's the consultant doing the work, that's staff reviewing the work, that's presenting it to council and getting it approved. How long until we see any change? How long until we see any traffic calming measures installed because of that plan? We could be making small changes now. The city of Greenville has 42 projects, calming projects under consideration right now, and they all have their own website of where the project is in the process. As far as I know, we only have one, and that's Livingston. So, I mean, we could be doing a lot more. And I know staff is busy and they're overworked, but the return on traffic calming just seems to be way better than some of the other projects that maybe we're considering. So, just want us to keep that in mind. How much time do I have?
30 seconds.
Okay, also, let's stop it with the door zone bike lanes. On these projects that we're gonna be reviewing, door zone bike lanes are so dangerous. If we have enough room for parking, a bike lane, and traffic, let's move that bike lane to the curb. Every other city is doing it. Door zone bike lanes are out. That's just like a personal opinion, but it's also pretty dangerous, so that's all I gotta say.
Thanks, Mr. Watkins. Appreciate it. Any other public comments?
Can I still public comments?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, Philip Ashelman, I didn't plan to talk, but I also live on Sulphur Springs. My main thing is safe routes to school and try to get more kids walking and biking to school. And Sulphur Springs also has a school at Herring Elementary. And a lot of kids walk and ride, some of them independently. I think if we, like traffic calming, just a couple changes, and we could have a whole lot more. So please consider safe routes to school and getting more kids walking to school. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. And Lucy Herring, is on Sulphur Springs. You may have said that, but it's right there in the same sort of area. Any other public comments? Thanks, everyone. That's great. I love it.
Anybody?
Anyone online?
We're only broadcast.
Yeah, we're only broadcasting. Yeah, or maybe it would come in as an email. Nothing. No, thank you, Nicole.
Oh, it was too late.
Are there any, I know we do have a couple of announcements. Are there any announcements? I know Jake had one, shoot.
It's the neighborhood festival.
Yeah, the neighborhood, yes. the neighborhood festival, when is the neighborhood festival? September 10th?
It's 14th, I believe.
The 14th, yeah, maybe I'll make a mention, I'll pull up the email. I failed to bring Jake's email up.
Oh, the festival.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's, you take it, Elise, give us an announcement.
The Festival of Neighborhoods is coming up on September 14th. That will be 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at MLK Park. There are currently 10 neighborhoods that have signed up to participate. Hopefully we might get a few more. But in addition to that, there's another 20 like tables or tents or whatever you wanna call it that will be hosted by various city offices, various nonprofit groups. Asheville on Bikes will be there with some bikes on a little like route that they've set up for kids to kind of maneuver around. And other children's entertainment will be like the little inflatable bouncy house thing. There might be some face painting. I think we're getting a DJ, and there'll also be some food trucks. And door prizes that have been donated by like the Asheville Tourists and other groups. So if you're available, please come check out the Festival of Neighborhoods. This will be the second year in a row that we've done this, so we hope to keep doing it.
Yeah, cool. And there's no role that we're playing per se, other than maybe showing up and engaging?
Right, is the transportation department hosting a tent there? I know like the water department might be, like the Buncombe County tax assessor will be there if you wanna ask about the assessment process, but I'm not sure if the entry department.
Did you ever talk to Trey about, are we gonna have a shared tent with?
He's checking in with the Asheville Police Department. That's what we shared a tent last year. And we asked if we could share the tent with them.
Yeah, I think we're planning on it.
Okay, there was a bus last year. We have a bus? No. No. All right, well.
Yeah, well, thanks.
Just come out.
Yeah, thanks for the work on that. I'm glad to see it. I think it's a great thing. Okay, any other announcements, y'all?
Well, we'll be doing the bike ped count the second week of September. That's great. And there'll also be an intercept survey happening.
Yeah,
We'll talk more about that later.
Yes, we'll hit on that.
But it is good to know that the bike ped count is happening and an exciting way to document all of the great use that's happening on city streets and intersections and sidewalks.
And volunteers are still needed for that, right?
For the bike ped counts, we have enough for the intercept surveys.
Okay, for the bike ped count. So share that word. And who would they contact?
Anna Sexton.
Okay, Anna Sexton. And Anna's back.
She'll
Yeah, okay. Okay, great. All right, awesome. Any other announcements before we move on to new business? We have one item of new business, and that is to review and receive input on proposed speed limit changes. And I've asked Chris Carnes to give us kind of an overview. We won't be able to present the presentation here, the PowerPoint, but hopefully commission members have had an opportunity to look at it. But I think they're basically simple enough to be able to explain. And I'll ask for a motion to approve both of them. And then after that motion, in a second, we'll discuss and then vote, if that makes sense. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Sounds good. All right, so it's two streets that are, where speed limits are recommended for changes. They are both DOT streets, and both of the changes are recommended by DOT. And what they seek from the city is municipal concurrence, which has to come from city council. So part of that process of any of our speed limits is to present to y'all. So those two streets are Haywood Road and Swananoa River Road. Those, both have been in motion somewhat for a while. Haywood Road is to basically butt up to the 20-mile-per-hour zone in the business area to have 25 on both sides of the road. So all of Haywood Road will be 25 or 20. So the new parts are changing from 35 to 30. to 25, 35 to 25. And that would be done as soon as our concurrence, and then they create an ordinance, so I guess, we're going to council in September, late September, so I would guess November. Then Swananoa River Road, again, this is the entire stretch, it goes from Biltmore all the way to Tunnel Road. It's 2 segments, it's all 45 miles per hour, which no prudent driver can drive that the entire way, 45, no commentary there. But those curves are just too sharp for that, plus the narrow and like riders and all that, so it's been in motion and discussion for a while, and so they have recommended 35 miles per hour for the entire stretch. All reduced from 45. Anybody have any questions on any of that? I have maps printed out if needed.
Yeah, any questions? Maybe it's a good opportunity for questions for Chris on this.
Yeah, I know that, so Swananoa River stops right there at the intersection of Biltmore, and then it becomes Meadow, is that right? Is that stretch between Meadow that connects to the Greenway at Amboy, at the Amboy Bridge, is that also 45 miles an hour?
No, it's 35.
That's 35, so then it'll all be 35.
Right,
Okay.
well, there's actually a short segment of, I think it's 25 as you get to Amboy,
Okay,
but it is 35.
Okay.
That was reduced last year, I think.
okay, great, I was just curious, thank you.
And then 25 from Amboy to further down, further north.
Right, yeah, they're 25,
Along
it
the
starts, I
Greenway.
don't know if it's a 10th of a mile or 1,000 feet prior, and then matches up with the cities online.
Yeah, it's all 25 through the rad, yeah. Any other questions for clarification?
Yes, Chris, I think I know the question, the answer. The enforcement of speed limits in the city seems to be something that I rarely see exercised, frankly. Is this a state police responsibility, or does APD have that jurisdiction on these state highways?
APD definitely has jurisdiction within city limits. I do not know the answer to the speed, whether they do or don't.
My understanding is that they can issue tickets, and they do. I've seen them pull people over on state roads in the city limits. So actually more so than I've seen them maybe pull people over. Even
So
in the,
it's sort of a dual role.
yes, and I think actually the sheriff has jurisdiction too. So it could be multiple people, but
Makes sense.
so.
Is there a motion to approve?
I motion to support both of those proposals and enthusiastically.
Okay, Randy makes a motion, the second, Mike seconds it. Is there any further discussion around the motion to lower the speed limits on these 2 sections?
I don't have a question so much as like a comment. I certainly 100% wholeheartedly support these changes. I also know that, especially on Haywood Road, I'm more familiar with Haywood Road than Swananoa River Road, but those, the lanes are super wide in these areas where these speed limit changes are proposed. And signs don't do as much to change behavior as actual design changes behavior. I know this is, I think, kind of the lead up to the NCDOT project to do some repaving and some restriping on Haywood Road. So hopefully some of those design changes will lower speeds. Maybe some people will pay attention to the signs and lower their speeds, but there's also I just wanted to call out that there are some design issues in these areas that encourage higher speeds than we're wanting people to drive.
That's noted. Elise, Randy?
Yeah, and actually, Swananoa is the opposite direction, because it is designed for lower than 45, which is unusual for an NCDOT road to be designed for the speed limit posted. And I would ride and ride a bike on that road frequently, and I think that with the speed limit at 45, people might feel like they should be going 45, and it's not safe to do so. So I've been asking for this knows by the last 2 years for us to lower that, and I appreciate that we're getting the opportunity to do that now. And also too, I mean, we recently had a bicyclist killed on Swananoa Road, and not because of speed necessarily, but like I said, I ride a bicycle on that road frequently, and I'm always on the parade every time I ride over the lakes anyway. But because you can't see that well, it's when the faster you go, the less you can see too. So, and there will be a design, that's why I know it's gonna be redesigned, an NCDOT project sometime in the future. And so lowering speed limits now helps us because they design for 10 miles an hour above the speed limit. And if we lower the speed limit, then we'll design for 45 instead of 55, so this helps, it's helpful that way.
Yeah.
So it's all good for this. Thanks for supporting that.
Yeah,
So you just brought up an important point. The NCDOT causes people to speed by 10 miles an hour. So when they come to redo that design, is there any way to go, let's design the road for the speed limit and not for 10 miles over the speed limit? Because that is every road that NCDOT does in this town, and it's dangerous and people are dying every day because of it. Not every day, but a lot of people are dying because of it and getting injured. So why do we keep designing roads for 10 miles over the speed limit? I mean, we're getting ready to redo Haywood. Are we gonna design that for, 35, 40 miles an hour instead of a 25 mile an hour? That makes no sense. I mean, you just say that and intuitively it makes no sense. And people do drive the design, don't drive the sign.
yeah, noted, thank you. Yes, Chris.
I just want to thank you for bringing up the Haywood Road. The context, that project is how those speed limits came up in the discussion to reduce them. So DOT partnered with everybody providing input on that. And it was good discussion and good outcome.
Thank you.
How did that work?
That one, occasionally I speak with the division traffic engineer about speed limits around town, and that came up probably early this year. They were looking at one segment and we talked about the whole segment, and then that just came up. They brought it all together within the last few weeks.
Excellent.
Yeah, I think kudos to the NCDOT too. They got a lot of flack for a lot of things, and deservedly so. But they've also been much more open and willing to listen to discussions with the city and to other people too in the last several years, I think 4 or 5 years actually. And so it's not quite the adversarial relationship, from my perspective, that we've had in the past. And I'm sure that they get some kudos for that, and hopefully that encourages them to continue to.
That's good. Good, yeah, Bill, one more comment, then we'll take a vote.
Well, I'm wondering if we should amend this policy, not only the the speed limit, but have a motion from council to request that the NCDOT create a design for subject speed limit. Because it sounds like there's a disconnect between saying a speed limit and having the outcome of the street. And maybe we should have a motion that says do both.
Yeah, maybe that's something we can consider in the future.
I think that's a separate issue, and that's a statewide issue, not a local issue.
Yeah.
So I think that is a problem that we could tackle for sure, but that isn't really related to what we're doing now. So I think we should keep those issues separate. And then if you want to tackle that in the future, we more likely
Yeah, I think it's something we should,
And there might even be an AASHTO.
Yeah.
The National Traffic Design Manual. I think it listed, it's designed, you would know better than I.
My experience, and I'm not gonna speak on behalf of DOT, is it's a state policy.
Okay.
And it is based in AASHTO, the American Association of State Highway Transportation Officials. AASHTO also allows an engineer to use posted speed and design speed. Some agencies are more conservative and want to over-design, and that's the heart of the issue of work.
Y'all want to put to vote the motion to reduce the speed limit on Haywood Road and Swananoa River Road. The motion made by, forgot who made it. Randy made it, seconded by Bill.
Seconded by Mike.
Oh, seconded by Mike, yeah, thank you. All in favor of approving that motion?
Aye.
Any opposed or abstaining? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, everyone. All right, we have one item of unfinished business, and that is the intercept survey for greenways. Leanna Joyner.
Yeah, this week, very quick. We have volunteers fully registered to staff 2 sites, morning and evening, both a weekday and a weekend. We have site leaders from this commission and the Active Transportation Committee that have been registered and they are trained. That team of leaders took part in the training and also reviewed the survey tool and That was really helpful in revealing some opportunities for some refinement that is underway related to the survey tool. And the city has secured some incentives for people who step up and complete a survey, which is a nice thing to do when people don't really want to slow down on their greenway journey. It'll be concurrent with the bike ped count, second week of September. And it's really exciting to see how this unified effort goes for active transportation surveying and qualitative and quantitative data that will help us make better decisions as a city and inform maybe future decision making.
And I'm hopeful that the intercept survey is something that the MMTC can take the lead on every year, or at least in collaboration and support of the transportation department staff. I do think it's also a nice way, while sometimes we do find ourselves, the 30,000-foot policy view, which the needle moves quite slowly sometimes. I think it's nice to be able to get our hands dirty. So if you are available, come on out and volunteer. It's obviously not obligatory, but it is a good way to feel engaged and connected to the community. And hopefully you'll learn something along the way. That's why I'm psyched to be out there. So thanks for helping put that together. Haley, thanks for your work on that and all of your colleagues in transportation. Anything else to add? Any questions for Leanna?
Is the intercept survey every year?
Hasn't been done since 2021, so this is the chance to.
With the development of the gap plan, we did it once, and now we have a goal to start doing it every 1 to 2 years.
Yeah, so hopefully we can help take some leadership on that. So we can write something on a report that we accomplished at the end of the year. No, I'm just kidding. We've been good. It's been a really good year. So just kidding. Just strike that from the record. Yeah, okay. All right. Okay, y'all. So we're going to move on to our work part of the session, which I'm super excited about. And we are going to set up 4 separate stations. Each of the stations is they might have, one station may have multiple projects within it that somehow are connected. But each of these stations, I'm gonna divide everyone into groups here in a moment. And each group is gonna rotate through all of the 4 stations. And we'll have approximately 10 to 15 minutes at each station. The objective is to, I think we'll have some city staff helping us and explaining what we're looking at, but the hope is to use that time for some discussion, for questions, very much like what we did at our last meeting. I encourage us to stay, while it's gonna be really easy to get down into the weeds, like where is this curb gonna be, or whatever detail, I think that's okay. Whatever on your mind, you should ask it and share it. But I think the hope is that we sort of stay at a fairly high level so we can become more informed about each of these projects, what's happening, the timeline, and as we go through the 4 projects, as you go through the 4 projects in this space, I'm hoping that we'll also be able to find connections. We'll be able to find things that might be missing from those projects in terms of piecing them all together. And I think it'll give us a good opportunity to learn about these. Kenny is going to be our timekeeper. So each group will hear about, maybe a 5-minute warning, and then we'll begin a new station sharply at the beginning of every 15-minute increment, if that makes sense. And that way we'll each have a chance to spend a good bit of time at each station. And then at the end of that, with the time remaining, we'll come back together as a big group. And what I'll ask each group, once I divide you up, if you would choose someone in your group to be a spokesperson. So we'll start out by asking each group to report back on ideas problems, opportunities, whatever you might see. And then following that, we'll see what time we have for discussion. Do y'all have any questions about what we're about to do? So, because I'm a teacher, everybody's gonna get a color.
I just wanted to ask, make sure everybody has signed in. If you haven't signed in, let me know. I'm gonna do the sign-in sheet.
Sheets are here.
And just let me know, yeah, anyone who doesn't wish to participate, the public can certainly observe or join in. And I guess you're kind of already at a station, but big color, that's okay.
So we need to.
Chris, are you gonna join us for a conversation? No, okay. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, why don't we'll divide everyone, how about this, we'll divide everyone and we'll do a quick 3-minute bathroom break, how about that? And then whoever's in here and is handy, we'll move some tables around and we'll start in 3 minutes. How's that sound? So bathroom break and we'll get organized. Hold on to your color so you know which group you're gonna go to. Don't lose your color. All right, tables. One is okay. That's fine, so we'll go.
And I heard some stuff about recruiting.
Let's do that. Let's put that out, so we'll have 4 stations. I think that's great. So, yeah, let's get 4 tables. Yeah, I think so. And we could even leave that table. Here's one table. Where should we move it? Yeah, I think maybe the whole.
No.
How about should we use this table, Lucy?
Yeah.
Okay, let's use this one, I can move my stuff.
This is the citywide map.
Oh, okay, perfect. Okay, excellent.
If there's enough right away for parking.
All right.
Make sure.
You told your husband you wasn't sick or any trip?
It's all in my hand.
Oh, no.
You still have the passengers.
Yeah, it's such a
I'm always a passenger.
You were there for the 1st of August.
Okay. We'll leave that there. Yeah. I think we've got, this can be a third.
I'm ready to like,
I'm just putting those.
I'm sorry you were on that, but you were on the ship.
Oh, man.
So you were.
my time was not like, no, I don't know. I need,
All right, your picture.
No,
yeah, we will, except for break.
We went down the key line out on the fjords. And then came back to Whitty and boarded our ship.
Yeah.
I are creating.
Oh, I have not. Good, I'll check it out.
Those, wrapping up. Yeah, oh yeah. I really like your work.
4 minutes, okay, we're almost there. Why don't we organize? Hey y'all, if you would gather with your group and then we'll assign you to the table. So, who's got a yellow? Philip's got a yellow, you'll gather around Philip.
I've got
Who's got green? Green, Bill and Joe over here. Green would gather. Bill and Joe. How about blues? Do we have a blue?
green, white.
Blue Elise, everyone blues over there with Elise.
That's French green.
If you've lost your color, you're in trouble. No, just kidding. I got blue. And finally,
I am.
pink.
It's an advance.
Pink over here. Okay, you guys are already together. You all are already together. All right, so, how about pinks? You all will start out over here. This is the Pat Avenue, table. And let's see, blues.
Was it a surprise?
Blues, how about if you all come on down here? These are a variety of greenways over here. And yeah, Cox Avenue, yellows over here. Fill up yellows. Oh, you're kind of yeah, maybe we'll have three. Might we end up with three rotations, which would be fine. It's okay. We're gonna learn about them. You all, why don't you come over and join Philip? What's that?
Are we doing 3 or 4?
Looks like 3, because we lost the distribution somehow. The yellows weren't good. Y'all, come on over here. Yeah, Reed Creek over here.
Reed Creek is over here, I think. Right?
Wait, you want all of us over there?
What do we have over there?
We have Reed Creek over here. Reed
Okay. Why don't we put Reed Creek and Cox together?
Okay.
Yeah, and we'll just consolidate them.
Yeah, that sounds
So you all are doing this one, greens and yellows over here.
So you have to do the yellows now?
Y'all, we're gonna start the clock right now at 15 minutes. I encourage you to have a look at your table. If there is a city employee who can help us out, if not, generate questions, have a look, see what you can learn, and we'll give you a 5-minute warning in 10 minutes before we
So, and then you go to your PCF, go a little back to have a little.
That came up in our meeting.
Yeah, yeah, and I believe that this is the cross section that we settled on which would be the uphill bike lane on one side, uphill funding lane. Okay, yeah, that's the primary school. I think we talked about the multimodal a few months ago.
Yeah, it might be that bad because it's one way starting here. So you have to move one way.
Somebody else.
Yeah.
There's that one.
Yeah, that's the west side.
I think I wrote this right now.
It's a section of what is called.
Move over, and so going this way, it's a 2, it's not.
That corridor keeps going down.
The road's falling apart.
Right now.
But that section.
So a few years ago, the city worked with Asheville and Bikes to do a between here and here, so southern half. And the project is technically still in place and it's very complicated and
outdated, but it basically put, moved parking away from the curb and had a.
That's what I'm saying.
And the intention of that microurbanism project
Oh, yeah. That's our building.
a possible
And so.
cross section between developed, which
Yeah.
that's what
Yeah, yeah.
and it's a design process for reconstructing this entire.
Because this is
We have about,
Okay.
we have $10 million in grant funds, we have another couple $1 million in GPA funds. All the way from now. So, we're gonna be doing the whole streetscape, so it's gonna be a whole reconstruction of the streetscape. Kind of like we did on Haywood Road downtown a couple years ago, all new lighting, all new sidewalk, all new, storm water.
This is what I saw.
And
They're using
we're looking at
parking blocks,
maybe not being able to.
pretty cheap materials.
We have to phase it, and if we do have to phase
And
it,
then
we
we can also
probably
have
start with this section.
cars that straddle that.
But this is the cross section, I think that we would forward.
In my mind, we're gonna have
We're trying to get
small
construction.
off-road, protected, safe
Will be
infrastructure.
It would be widening sidewalk, which is facilitated in some areas. It would maintain parking on the street, which business owners are creating, narrows the vehicular lanes up a little bit. The one downside is that we don't have enough land to have enough land on both sides of the road from here. And so like I can live there.
What capacity should it
Be, you know, similar to other roads. And hopefully the vice versa can share with us examples. I think overall the design is meant to also slow speed substantially. So both sides folks are traveling through that corridor at a much slower pace than the tar. I'll try to answer questions. I've been projects that are.
So I've walked down the street a couple times since that conversation a few months ago. And one thing that hit me was, and somebody was saying, there's kind of two different types of
It's really, so it's
This
really
part of the
just
street and there's this
concept.
part.
Right.
Maybe there's more than that. You get up here and there's no business. There's a parking lot. You got that right. Now you got half the people right here. Down here, this is a county services building, I think. This is a county services building.
These are gonna be one first floor retail done.
The bonnet development, so it's just hands.
And there's good.
Yeah, it's true.
This is gonna be retail.
Wait, is that Lester Highway?
Housing, which is.
This whole
That's
area
Lester Highway.
here is
This is amazing. 9-acre of Falconhurst State,
street closure.
which the city
Closure street.
yeah, it is amazing. It's a 9-acre site, city road. And that is so cool. So it's very tricky. There's a liquor store, but yeah, that's about.
So there is.
And it's very, very.
And they actually have this right here, and I feel
It's, yeah, no, it's super small, but it's super cool.
There are locations that maybe have,
Some level
potential,
Chris,
they're all
Joya from
building the street, having a better utilization area. So, sorry, kind of.
Well, here was my reaction was that there's so much parking.
People are lazy is what I
All streets. I question whether we value this car parking on the street versus more dead bike space. I think that's a high thing. What do we want in the street? Do we want cars stationary or do we want?
It does make it feel like
It's always got me excited to think about, like, we seem to have a lot of
They'll never go
little pockets
So that, We know that.
And very
But there's
It
available.
would be interesting, maybe it's not smart transportation wise, it doesn't connect, but it would be cool as another project to think about how our offices connect,
You might come up with that.
out
And how many spaces are down the street?
a recreational.
The percent on street is, I would bet it's a very low percent. And I think somebody needs to look at that. That's my view.
No, they're not, that's our.
Well, Ty,
Yeah, some of them down here are not.
So, what I can say is that there's been 6+ years of public conversation and meetings and this is where we're looking to public comments. I don't think there's an opportunity to change parking. However, it is just striping, so it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't modify things. Well, that's not gonna bump out. Yeah, never mind.
So. 6 years. Next, brand new, this is 2 years old, 3. These are 2 new places. And if we go back 6 years, I say that's not
And the reason why
He's all in
on
there's a rail line that
I just
runs
went
along
back there
the front of the building.
as
I was
they go
saying
on,
that
or even
over that 6 years,
street trees like that.
And also there's
multiple
high tension
generations
transmission
of
poles
Also makes a lot.
that also make that
this is how we got
Shade,
to that.
Out north of
It's all
Jefferson
big down
Bridge.
there, and then you mount a shade.
My other reaction to all this is what was just commented, I think it was part of the. It says door party,
Also, that's part of
This will also make it easier for us.
Yeah.
My daughter got a door.
Streetway that
You're coming
leads
this
to
way
the
here,
thing.
coming this
And
way.
then, it's not,
Over here, you have a
it's
right
not
of way.
it's the problem we always face is that.
Right now, I like about this.
But that was just put them on solid.
Yeah, exactly.
Argument.
These two, you have to get rid of bump outs, so because we're having.
And having this problem, the cars are like, oh, I have to say, it's the land.
So we tried to fix that in the
You
Ratchet
can't have bump
project.
outs, you know, you put intersections on bump outs so that they have less distance across.
Bikes
If
go
you
around.
switch these two around, you can use those bump outs.
Rail line at the right
You
angle,
know, you can't like
but it was.
where the bike parks after that.
And
Tree,
Well,
it
it reduces the speed, people more comfortable crossing the street.
there was also
The traffic calming feature.
I don't
allow it.
extreme crossing. This guy off the road.
That's it.
And we also proposed to the.
And I think that was, that was, looked at, was to put,
Which are these rubber.
if you put bike lanes on the curbside.
Rail and train is going down.
That changed, other cities, they're getting so
Surprisingly,
almost like a problem when they're saying, we can't do that, we can't do this.
and now it's sidewalks are 10 feet wide.
So our project starts where the highway left off, like the Trevor project.
Yes, but our capital improvement, they didn't protect it.
Rail line. I think that's the question that's coming, yes,
Is there a way to prioritize, so if there's space, allocate that space to.
That's the.
This is currently being engineered and we
Or
were.
as
The other reaction I got, and this is our last meeting,
I think.
personally,
So that would be when, this would be what's your design, is like,
wait,
That's still.
there's too many variables there, you just look at one and decide
How
to do
we.
it.
Yeah, so very much depends.
Here's the police version, there's minimum, you won't say whatever, you know, they need to be clustered, so I've got 3 options. And then you can list your criteria.
and like the way that's.
You can check for exits around each one. It's probably a month, however, just so it's easy to understand why we want to choose to design one versus the other. It's hard to do that with this.
To prioritize.
Presentation for cross section, but you only
So I
get
think,
one cross section.
it's a little like. And so
I think these were
but
what
like,
was looked
we
at.
gotta figure out how to do it.
I think these are what were looked at, but
These aren't consistent.
Well, there's, if you go down the tree, it has different widths. That's why there's A, B, and C.
Yeah.
So I would assume that A, B, and C is more bucket with that third voice, and then they'll hold it over. Well, Lucy said that was the one they tried, so.
Yeah, they. So.
Interstate projects, so there are.
I like that.
Tree.
I think they're
Solid.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. See, and we did show you guys, I think, the concept of having, the bike lane up on the sidewalk as well. And there are just some things that we don't have in our. I think.
And this one, the West Asheville, the green line would be put in at one point, was green line. Same issue.
Ah, okay.
And this one is one that was,
Yeah, that's why they folded it over.
What's the nature of the stormwater improvements? Is it a culvert or is it a cistern?
There's a big storm drainage system because there used to be a river here and that's what put it.
That was the impetus.
Yeah. No, it has to be torn out. We already have the mid-block crossing, we want to do a. And I heard that some people that are like, oh, the water 65 feet down.
So it's gonna be a conveyance, a culvert.
Yeah, obviously. I think that's just the city that's to get rid of the drainage flows.
So they're solving it.
Yeah, so that's,
I wanna make sure instead of being like a.
yeah, that's their whole thing. And that's why it's so tough.
yeah, okay, make sure that. Hey, y'all, we're gonna, let's rotate clockwise. So rotate clockwise and, Kenny, are we ready to rotate? Yeah, all right, rotate. No, let's, no. Yeah, clockwise. Yeah, clockwise.
Hang out, streaming.
All right, y'all are up there.
Looks like, transition station.
Yes. I feel like we should talk about retreat instead.
Who wants to go? And did you say that
No.
Oh, it's
So I think they're the only.
Yeah. It's not what.
Just slow moving forward. I thought there were 4 stations.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, but I think it would be good to understand what it is and just have it clear that like, it's done. I think that, yeah, but I'd like to be clear on what it is.
I feel bad that I didn't know
It's still.
on here. I don't know.
Yeah, okay.
I think this is the final.
Okay.
Maybe we've seen these more.
Yeah, let's stick with this, with the everything. That's fine, let's do it. Yeah, cool.
You can give them a few notes on.
All right, please, you wanna grab this?
Yeah, so that's one of
This was, I think Lucy was talking about a project that we were engineering. Looking at where do we actually want So feasibility study has now wrapped up.
So I don't know a lot about it.
Oh, okay, so you showed, we looked at this in a previous meeting, right? Yeah.
So the study is complete, like the report is complete, then the final step is bringing it to the planning and economic development
So this is y'all.
for review, the city council commission. And
That's about it.
they'll
How does it
be
work?
Any
So
development
this
of
One-
the property.
solid line is showing the boundary tree, limit that greenway. And then we're looking at it, extending it to the north, Riverside Drive, and then also to the south. Somebody was, Tim brought up like the concept of neighborhood greenways, and wanted to stop.
Right, yeah, he commented on that, I remember this got brought up.
Yeah, so the southern section is like a bit more complicated than that. There's different, type greenway types throughout the project. The neighborhood greenway will essentially be along Elizabeth Street, Cumberland Ave, and Bearden Ave. So that will have traffic calming additional
And we're waiting to hear what
Cherry Street is going to pretty much be the same, but then we're going to be able to add some bicycle lanes. And then Montford Ave is going to get, we're going to widen, the plans are to widen the sidewalk to allow for things like and then also add trailers. When we get down here, things get complicated. There's two options. It's very unlikely that we'd be able to fund both of those options. So one is like an off-street connector, calling it, this is Rockstar, and then this is Isaac Newton Elementary School.
Design.
So the off-street option would be more like greenway.
Yeah, I think this study just
It stopped.
Oh, okay.
And come back out from the street to get to that pedestrian bridge.
Yeah.
Not implementation.
Which is another option. And it is more, it would require basically.
That's right, but what DOT does in that intersection has no property.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're excited about.
Because it's raised blocks.
Rush out the day.
Adoption, there's gonna be this big sidewalk there.
Yeah, some of them are completely level, the south
There's not really room for very much, so to widen the sidewalks to eat. But there's also like houses along here.
Right, and you have to move it towards the houses, you can't go.
And they don't even really want to, so in some cases it would go from 10 feet to change the direction.
We're currently designing
We're going to be people, like safety and user experience.
And like what?
And then, lunch is responsible.
Wait.
Like Nelly and Small, right?
This is generally.
Topography, it's really and
Then they have to do some remediation. There's not enough space. This landfill that will have
Yeah, just gonna, actually, just open up this house, how long? It's on another $5 million, $10 million. Yeah.
But it's funny why.
No, that's not anymore. That's so double. So 10 years ago.
The only thing there was that.
It's about $4 million.
It's becoming a concept, but it's going to be, used to be allocated to, you remember the name of the program?
Yeah.
At what point, what's it going to become, it's like, I know.
What about this project?
I mean, all the students.
Where is
Right, so is it just gonna be like an administrative office? Pre-K program.
Everything could be up.
So,
It's gonna be like a head start.
there's like some kids who have been kicked out of other schools.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
It's been like, not had a real.
And do you, when you have to work this out, if the street is along the city schools property, like, are you obligated to work with city schools on what schools? Like, how does that work when you're making street infrastructure changes that are along city schools?
It's on their property, we need to easement. And so we still have conversations with the chamber.
Plus, it's always locked.
Where you're actually on their property. So it's an area.
For most of it,
Oh.
this portion is, it's kind of more on the chamber's property, and then on this portion it would be the.
Chris, when they look at the traffic.
There is this development that's coming in here, the Asheville Sanctuary, proposed development, yeah. And so one
I think it's this property here, the conservation.
That could be done through their permission or as part of the development agreement?
I was trying to figure out, I'm actually in agreement or.
That's yeah, okay.
Oh, so this is.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I don't know where it is in the status of the application. I know
And then the
it's
neighborhood is right behind here. Yeah, exactly. And we walk through the.
that one's actually like, holiday, but it's like, going through that process.
Previous.
This is.
But we have a little bit of leverage because there's some,
If we're gonna let you.
So we lost our.
Right, so that would be something that would come through at DC if they wanted to close it.
Yeah.
I was wondering, there is like like cottages, Broadway, maybe. I do like that.
Anything going on, that's why.
yeah, we try to avoid, so with the idea of, so there's always traffic
It's fast moving, lots of all.
we did look at Montford. So the idea is like, basically all the things are not all the way. Some safety back to the neighborhood that they're going to.
that, I used to try and ride through a bunch of car. So I ended up doing it, you can't really ride. It's part about it. But it's just like to do the distance of yourself.
I mean, this area is illustrated a lot downtown and it's pretty easy. Like sort of makes some of the stop signs so that what is that actually?
This section is
Every single stop sign.
Yeah, I think it's a cool. What is the timeline? Is it on?
So with the feasibility, so my engineer, again, would like us to. I have estimates to those and we're putting on
Only 5 years left in our senior loan, so
the bond.
Coming on.
I do have 6 projects alone, is like
Very
$4,000.
similar, so the bond
And
is
it's really
$1
expensive.
million for
And the last one I went for was 18 years.
That's why our recycling program.
the remainder, which is like a huge amount, we're looking at north section. And then there's also southern sections that have to be.
So bond money is not allocated.
This is a big one.
So we have to ask for
So,
yes or no.
Yeah, this is key. Oh my god, yeah, this is amazing.
Our gap plan, we have a bunch of these plans. Guys have.
This part too.
Not. Definitely not promising.
So the gray is all the work, very that, and then change. Sorry. So the section 1C, actually, it goes up the whole section we want, so it'll be completely separated from cars, it's really nice. And
There's
kind of get a lot of. I think it's also this as part of their 5.6 project and rebuild.
So this one would, would still need to be designed. Yeah.
The design is like not that, we'd still need future.
Yeah.
So a feasibility study, well,
we're talking about the design.
for real, it's construction, pre-construction, then.
So that'd be a
When
big
when I say they're talking, like, after we're looking at all of our funding sources and kind of deciding which ones are.
I don't always remember that pipeline.
That's the one that for us in communication,
Especially if there's like what I.
That's really
that piece.
good.
They probably want to be a combination of bond funds and.
Yeah.
So, which is what we've done with previous bond, like the new on-street sidewalk, the new Western sidewalk.
It depends on how.
All of those kind of funds that we, bond funds to match and like leverage. Yeah, so same, we'll probably do similar things. With a lot of the programs, especially if we do have grants and then like TBA funds and things as well. So something like that, you know, TBA camping road, one thing for TBA can work in the back, these two projects actually potentially meet their eligibility criteria because and right now those connecting into downtown, especially the train right there. And then this gets you to this new section of green that's coming up. And I think the TA helped pay for some of the other parts of the Loma that I think Yeah, even before the lid was, had, yeah, they have. Yeah.
Was there community resistance up here to this, like what are you hearing, what concerns around neighbors?
No, it's more like.
Is it rotating?
This has been a great practice, everyone else in general, like, it was pretty much figuring the gap plan was like one of the top priorities of what people wanted to review the budget, and then if you just like hard to look at and get projects engaged in the pipeline.
We're being cautious because that area is former this town, and
Yeah.
so, you know, I think there's.
Someone else from our team's gonna be our
There, which is the reason why I was choosing.
No, I know, that's why I just choose your point of view.
Yeah. That's good. Okay, y'all, rotate. Keep going clockwise. This is your final station.
This is the
final station.
Standing.
I know, I'm actually ready. One station? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the Haley show. Haley, maybe it'd be better if you sat here. And then
So
you
here's,
sit around.
or no. Yeah.
I could sit all day. I'm gonna help over.
On the.
You're about to hear about it. Yeah. So, I think you were. I think you all met with Lucy to talk about some green projects that are designed. This project is in feasibility study phase. So feasibility studies look more high level, where how do we get from point A to point B, where we're trying to go. And that study started last year
It's not permanent
in,
though.
Yeah, so
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So there's gonna be a
mystery to me, I really want that because I want to really bad,
Yeah, they'll need to generate here.
But the only study that's going to be good was the one that was done by the Asheville Science Center.
yeah. On the website, this is one.
But it is and it is really well
Yeah,
thought
that
out.
is,
The
yeah.
apartments are like right there.
We would really start from
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize this is so nice.
I mean, it's not, yeah, it's not even very healthy.
Yeah. How are the money? Yeah.
Would be an off-road.
Yeah, it's like a sidewalk, which is written on, and it's usable, but then a big embankment, and then how you can.
Yeah. So we looked into curbside, but with user experience.
It's not this point that the railroad will be
Trying to go up the wall.
and the transportation lines is the same.
Yeah, you can pay a lot here.
I mean, it's already down there.
Yeah, and we're not going to get rid of the sidewalks like people want to use it. We're gonna, yeah.
So
I
currently
mean, this is still trying to run this.
From what I've seen, we
Yeah.
have to time going this way.
Yeah.
We'll just make it
Yeah, well, you know, you've seen it.
It's so on, and then get fill out the line, I'll come back.
I'm sorry.
No, we're not, yeah, I mean, yeah, this is so much things as a retail store.
Oh, yeah.
It's a thing called Erie.
This is like.
Yeah, there's gonna be a highway on top.
Right, that's what it's like, there's 8 parcels, they've already applied.
It's tentatively in their plan.
Yeah, and one of the movements right here, so.
And there was an NCDOT member of our committee and.
Yeah.
Rebuild this, or is this?
Well,
were these guys?
They're gone.
it is, they create dedicated.
And then once that one
Should-
closed out,
It'll be like them.
From the intercity perspective, that might get pushed, into a different timeline, but
It'll
committed
or something, yeah, we can start.
It already is. Yeah. Yeah, Link well, we have that.
Yeah.
They were clearly.
Right, that's what they said.
And there's really nothing.
Yeah. I think it's chill. They know, that's just us to happen too.
Yeah.
The double lane roundabout.
Let's look at this timeline right
Definitely in transportation world, like maybe a few years, kind of like, they've already started halfway around, and I think I want to say Tristan said like at 26. For
They
the.
haven't
I think those.
And they built out.
Yeah.
So they already own the house. Must be the one. They built out.
The way it's designed, you know,
Watch off, that's the waiting part.
Yeah. But the way I see it, they're not building for, if you're trying to figure out the very next one, the outside box, and then you're going, what's it play?
Well, I don't know much about it either, so I mean, it's, I'm.
Sheet and a half.
All I know is that it was so much.
I think that's what I heard.
Are they there now or?
No, well, this area is called the Outdoors Nature Reserve. It is open to the public, there's some great trails that volunteers.
That's a minute, we should sit there.
Yeah. It's not, but it's.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the detail.
And they love it. So I'm like, like, we can't argue about it. Like, no, that's part of it, I'm like, okay, but again, so that's not really this, because that's not.
This will go all behind.
I don't have any clients on it.
It'll be on the
Be
other
off the road, but the ones that it's wicked, this is great, but then we get to here, it's a, right, yeah.
You're a lot more solid.
It's not easy to rain, to ride, it's, so
No,
it's just, you get to, yeah, and then you're, well, the car just, it's quiet.
Right, so all of this part would be something we could consider after the breeze.
So when we have lines here, I know what the agreement is like, and I have a vision of what, we're starting to understand like what's specifically like parts of the trail. Greenways on the road. Out there, it is like, this is gonna be a part of my commute eventually, and like, I agree that, like, access to the state, like, I would consider some of those urban.
I think
We are here, when I turn.
This like technology that was brought up and on Elizabeth Cumberland.
Just in general.
Traffic prioritizing pedestrians and bicyclists, so maybe the traffic circle that the water flows here at the intersection. And improve signage to know like, the photos that no parking.
Yeah, so they've been talking about it, somehow tying into bridges
like, we might prioritize
and but
pedestrians,
also
so they might put in a lower bid, knowing that it's a lot lower.
all of that is gone, so
The heavy tandem.
once everything slows down.
You have to stop. And stop sign. And then you're going downhill. I mean, it's not that big, but still, it's impacts on the present. So yeah, the property cars.
And just talk through me, like why this.
There's space, that's how
So originally, the input with master plan, this project was, the intent of this other section was to get to this pedestrian bridge near Isaac Dixon. And from feedback, people, what do they want going in their connection downtown? So part of this is the layout that you
Same with the fire, I know the fire department supported this project.
On the bridge.
Some people said they didn't make public comments because they were half of the fire department, private citizens, so just wondering what they did with that conversation.
what we received feedback on the actual presentation.
Yeah.
Then why not still get to that?
Here, you can get easily to all those.
I've never gone down there, you have to go like all nights.
I use it like once or twice.
I've used it for the fun of it, but
Yeah.
like.
Well, I usually want to actually get something,
Yeah.
the route, like Google route, I didn't know it there.
So it's like this conceptually to like cut out downtown.
They have them on that.
Right.
Or to get to
Dixon and then get to those destinations out there.
They cross the school, there's like so many
No
people
great way to
walking
close
from
this
the
story on
neighborhood.
the south side of the river.
Yeah.
You are like one river or something like that.
And this,
But I'm not doing it, I'm gonna go that way next time, right?
What's
Like,
that's,
this is transportation.
yeah, west.
There's also
Yeah,
like,
so
with the
this is all
past,
for city council.
this will be a
approved.
experience, we have some very experiential
Now,
stuff there.
it's
it's getting redesigned.
Now,
It's not connected.
Well, no, you
Yeah,
still
yeah.
have to accept the.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like long range planning, saying,
Yeah.
thinking about future
Yeah.
connections and what we want this to be.
Yeah, there's still another road in there.
Yeah, this is what
Is there, I know there's visioning going on about.
Another bridge.
It's really just like,
Here.
it's like a wide sidewalk.
Yeah, so this could.
Here, space, kind of like.
Oh, that's the real.
So I don't know if you have that cross section in here.
we talked
Now
about,
there is
there's
funding,
people
right,
that
there's $4 million in funding that's here.
have experience
And that would include everything, like visioning what the roadways may look like, the names.
Like here to.
Yeah. Yeah. So we wouldn't like, you know, take any buildings out.
Yeah, and all of these
Basically,
are probably what
cross section.
That's not, I mean, I hadn't realized, I probably should have known that, but that.
Mike, I hear you were saying this
And
is not.
we funded it.
That's what he was saying, apparently.
Grants, I think they were, I'm not sure. And I think they were certainly,
It's really here.
yeah, for sure. So, yeah, they might, what's the little town down there?
These are, oh.
Oh, they.
I think it's like,
This is, north side, I mean,
People.
and there is existing sidewalk here, but it's not like, it's not historic sidewalk, so we can actually do something with it, like, we don't have to worry about that. Yeah. Sidewalk is out there, match the. Yeah, so I think we have.
Yeah, and I didn't even talk about that. Yeah, all of these roads were dead end now. But they're very.
It's always.
Yeah, it's hard to get started.
That's right. Yeah.
It's not that that really matters, but I'm trying to, it's like, yeah. But I have a feeling you and I have a different risk threshold.
We get funding, but something else. So like what we're doing here extends to Matt. Because
Really, that's always, that's such a weird, yeah.
Somebody made a comment.
So, the current.
Yeah.
We've got streets.
Hey y'all, let's take a couple minutes and if we can transition back, we can move a couple tables. And we're gonna take about 20 minutes to have a big group discussion, share findings, and go from there. So wrap up your conversation and grab a seat back.
If it passes. Keep saying it, because the chamber did polling and all four of them came back and yeah.
I think it's prevented, but.
This is like. No, they did, the polling elaborates what would be on the ballot. I'm not sure stuff, but it's like these people, that's like their business, so we did.
Jack, this map shows all of the different.
Oh, nice, okay, yeah, good.
And Jack is on.
Oh, cool.
Smithfield.
There's a way. Well, good, yeah, well, good, that's great. That would have been a good extra station, but maybe it's not enough to.
I think this is a good wrap up.
Yeah, that's really good, okay, yeah. I wonder how.
Well, we'll talk about ED. And then it's like.
No, this is just an overview. Y'all, come on, Kenny, why don't you bring that, let's bring that table over.
Oh, right, exactly. Thank you.
Yeah, why don't we move this one down, we can get everyone.
We're coming.
Yeah, why don't we do, that'd be great, yes, Randy. Yeah, that's a good idea.
I love these meetings. This workshop sounds very fun.
Yeah, I know, I learned, you think you know something about a project, and you're like, nope.
Always more.
Good to hear from the people who are working on it 40 hours a week.
Totally.
All right, y'all. By the way, Lucy also put together, I know it's hard to see from your angle, but Lucy has put together a city map that includes each of the projects. And so to see how they can connect, because I know it's sometimes hard to visualize. But I'd like to ask in the last, 15, 20 minutes that we have of the meeting is to rotate among the three groups. Let's start out by doing that and giving each group a couple minutes, 2, 3, 4 minutes to sort of summarize any key findings. It's actually, now we're a pretty small group, so I think we can also just feel free to popcorn around. and speak on your own behalf of individually what you saw. So maybe I'll open the floor. What's a takeaway? What's something that you learned in that rotation that's useful?
Don't be shy.
I learned about the Greenway as part of the I-26 project that's gonna start at the primary school and follow the interstate, go across the bridge into downtown. It's pretty exciting.
Yeah, that's really cool. There's so much exciting stuff.
A lot of what we see, I mean, so it's interesting to have some of the people that are on the commission seeing things that too, because they haven't, most of these things we've all seen before at some stage of the development and talk about things like that too. So it just kind of reinforces, and I know like at one point Maggie said, tell me again about this, because we've heard these things before necessarily, but it's not always the most current in our mind. So this, I think for our commission is really good just in terms of like to keep us aware and understanding what things are, and then some of the things here tied into each other, so it's good to see just how they're tying in with each other, and to ask the questions too, now what's the projected for this, because 10 years ago some of the stuff was supposed to be done already too. So this way happens that way too. So a lot of the value I think is for people that have seen it before, just to have it be more present in terms of what's going on, and then you have things to do, and then people that haven't seen things before too, to find out things that have been connected and put into places too that we didn't know about too, to keep building on the pieces of the puzzle. Because I see this a lot, but on this kind of commission, we have to have a long view of things because nothing happens really quickly, and it's easy to be, I want this to be done now, and that's what we focus on, and that's just one small piece of it, what we can do now, and what we do, what the priorities are, because we can't say, I really don't wanna have this be a priority now, or not that, when IDOT control it, so it's kind of like, what can we do to be prepared for when IDOT does something, so that we can respond to it in a way that is not having a missed opportunity, and that kind of stuff, and so the more eyes and ears you can have on those kind of things, the more present we can be prepared.
I learned in all three of the sessions how important it is to keep in mind results, and to that end, elect people to the council that support transportation improvements. I know there's been some wavering of that in carrying out some of these objectives that we support, which I think are amazing. We want Jessica and her team to have all the support they need to make these things happen, much like Randy's.
I'd be happy just to have a plotter that works.
Oh, man.
Okay.
No, I wasn't snapping, I was saying money, I need money.
Different, the different finger wiggle.
We have three seats open in November, or two?
Two incumbents and one opening.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That was a big takeaway for me, as well as learning about the Smith Creek Greenway, which I hadn't really had previously. It's great.
Yeah, it's really good. It is amazing how much I-26 is going to impact all of these projects, and how much of it is dependent on all of these things. That's it's going to be crazy how impactful I-26 is. It'll be great when the dust settles, but boy, that's a long way.
Another 10 years?
Yeah.
Construction will start within 12 months,
Yeah.
but then it will be
Yeah,
10 years.
finished.
Yeah.
But they've been talking about it for like 20 or 30 years, so.
They're saying 2031 or 32 would be when it is over.
Okay.
So I'm gonna add a couple years to that.
Yeah.
And that's just the construction, and they have to start deeding over the property, and has been negotiations for all the land that's underneath it.
A lot.
So it's gonna be a 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm curious, how do you all think, so I think about our role as the commission, and there feels like there's lots of, there's sort of this funding piece piece, I think there's this priority piece of which projects are most important. There's also, I appreciate Jessica, one of the conversations we were having about, part of the priority of projects depends on how accepting neighborhoods are of them, and I think we're becoming more thoughtful over time about where we get excited about projects, how we talk about projects, because not everyone supports them. Merriman Avenue, again, another example of these things. So I'm just curious, where do you all see, if you could sort of see a direct line over the next, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 years of what MMTC is doing around these projects? This feels like the first step. We're getting to know them. Many of you all are already coming in with great knowledge, which is also really great to just hear how invested and how much you all know as each individual members. But what's our trajectory? What are the things that we need to be doing to make sure these projects are successful, whichever ones they are?
That's your question, what can we do to be successful?
Well, what role are we gonna play as MMTC? I mean, I'd love it if we keep talking about, having meetings where we're learning about projects, but what actions might we be doing? What things could we do to make sure these projects are more likely to succeed down the road, presuming that we even play a role in their success at all, which I hope we do, but.
Well, I think one thing we can do is do more advocacy and get people excited about, say, hey, did you hear about the new X Greenway? And if you haven't, this is what it is, and contact your city council members and let them know that you're interested and let other people know. Because if people don't know about a certain greenway, they can't advocate for it. And there's other concerns that are being advocated for in the city, and to get greenways to be more greenways and bike lanes and buses to become more on the radar of our city council. We need to get more people to be aware of what's potentially available and let them get excited about it and get the word out. That would help.
Yeah.
Well, we're about to have 10 years of very unhappy people with a lot of construction. So to be able to pinpoint those silver linings of, I know this sucks, but think about what it's done. We're gonna have this great new greenway. Penn Avenue is gonna be a whole new
The
different.
worst, I think, is gonna be Haywood Bridge, when they have to replace Haywood Bridge going across the freeway. That area is gonna be just a disaster, and that's gonna be like that for a period of time.
Yeah.
So get people positive before that happens.
Yeah, and I like that. And I also like the idea of us. I love it that we're a group that's highly informed about these projects, and we really understand how they connect. Like, that also seems like a pretty good role. I don't think that we're not, but I love it that we incrementally get stronger and stronger at that.
Something that has come up recently at the Neighborhood Advisory Committee, and we're supposed to have our retreat next month, so we'll kind of come up with our goals for the year, but at our meeting on Monday, something that kind of floated up was, the city has all these plans for things, and so, and specifically people were asking about sidewalks, and I was like, oh, well, there's the GAP plan, you can see what priority you're in based on the GAP plan, but like people and like other citizens aren't necessarily gonna read all however many pages of the GAP plan. So something that has we started to have discussion about, and might be one of our goals next year, is to kind of help distill down some of these bigger plans into just like some bullet points, like pull out the key tables or whatever, so that then we have kind of pared down information to supply to neighborhoods. And so I'm wondering if like MMTC might consider working with the Neighborhood Advisory Committee on like some of those greenway and other type planning documents to help create these pared down versions.
Yeah, that's cool. That gets to Mike's point about just that would be a nice tool to help with the advocacy.
Yeah.
That might be something that we can work on, not a white paper per se, but I can see this group pulling together some resources to creating some kind of document that would be useful for our members. With the stamp of approval, transportation, that, here's what we're doing. I like that idea.
I think we talked before about like going to I know at festivals and the Festival of the Neighborhoods, and just going to the neighborhood meetings and say, hey, that the neighborhood associations know that, hey, we have a speaker that's available to come give a presentation on what transportation issues and greenways are happening in your neighborhood, and so people can become more aware that way. And that might be a good thing that we could do to help support the city.
Nice to see folks out at the various meetings. Of Wilman Dykeman, there were a number of members who were out there. That was super cool. Maggie, I wonder if you could speak a little bit towards, like, I know, yeah, we're gonna have 3 new council members, but I'd love to hear, the focus of council right now and, around housing and anti-displacement. And I know the council has numerous goals. That seems to be one that's really surfaced to the top. So I just wonder how can you help translate into how that political direction informs how we should interpret that.
Sure, so kind of picking up on when several chairs of committees came together for kind of the summit and illuminating
exactly.
that message.
Yeah.
Sure, I can do that. So where do I start? Council every year has a retreat, January, February, March, and we set our highest level priorities for the organization. And I think we've talked about retreat time in our cycles before and having our retreat before that so it can inform. And one of the biggest priorities, or one of our priorities, has been housing. And in the last year, we really focused more from just being about we want more housing to we need to address affordable housing through incentives and partnerships and housing supply, because both are important parts of the puzzle that we just don't have enough front doors and they aren't obtainable. And so there's been a real alignment across council and our council committees and across our departments to start a specific initiative around looking at our unified development ordinance, which is basically our zoning and permitting and planning process. Because, for example, and Jared would do a good job explaining this too, he's on P&Z, 67% of our residentially zoned parcels are only for single family, right? So that type of theme. So what I think Jack is alluding to is like, we're really getting started on this. And council has been really clear that if we start looking at methods to reduce barriers to building homes, we need to be really confident that we've done thoughtful work and added new programming to address the risks of displacement and gentrification. And so we are ensuring that before we address any zoning changes in neighborhoods, we're working on some displacement programming type of things. Think like renter assistance, think property tax rebate, think home repair so you can stay in your home, those type of pragmatic things. We also won't be able to fund those if the bond doesn't pass because we don't have any new money, so they're all kind of pretty related. And then we also are gonna focus a lot of the rezoning strategy around corridors and commercial centers. Think downtown, think West Asheville, think our major arteries. Where this really bridges, I think, from a transportation lens is if we really think about building our community, maintaining our community, making our community a place where people build community and live and are comfortable. The way city sets up the rules for who can build where and when, and then the infrastructure that the city builds, there needs to be some matching of those conversations, right? Because if we're gonna, unless they're matched, I think the statement is, development is like water. It'll go anywhere unless you direct it. And I think that a lot of this work around zoning is gonna have some more directed methods, but the infrastructure needs to tie to it. And so I see transportation as an infrastructure conversation. I also see transit as an infrastructure conversation. If we're gonna say, we don't want 7-story apartment complexes in every holler, but we want Merriman to maybe have significantly more residential density, well then what does that mean for our transit system? What does that mean for our sidewalks? What does that mean for ADA? So they all start really pairing together. Is that the neighborhood of where you want to move?
Yeah, no, that was great. I thought that's just important to hear, and really be putting that on our radar, because I think that, you know, if we find ourselves in a bit of an advocacy effort, I think that context is absolutely critical, right? Yeah.
So Maggie, when would those new density maps start appearing?
So we're,
The directed, what you're saying is, we wanna do more proactive density planning so that the money gets applied in the places where we want it to go.
whether it's private sector development and private money or public.
And what I would offer is that once that happens, then transit and bikes and peds and all that stuff need to fold into that. So my question is, when might that happen?
I mean, we're essentially, the way that UDO, Unified Development Ordinances, often happen is that you pass a comprehensive plan and then shortly thereafter you update your rules. You say, this is the vision and now the rules are gonna match. We've had a bit of a lag between those two. And sometimes when you're doing a UD update, it can take 6 years. We are not doing that. We also aren't hiring out because we don't have money. So we're doing kind of a quick and dirty get started, and we're gonna roll these out in what we're calling bundles. We're seeing some line item UDO change proposals as early as September. I'm not sure if we'll vote on them in September, but we're gonna start seeing bundles of these this fall, next winter, next summer. With, again, transportation corridors, economic centers as our first priority, not our first priority, our first zoning changes while we're setting up displacement programs so that before we go into neighborhood and residential areas, we feel like we've started to set up some resources to balance some of this out.
So part of it, just to add to what Maggie's saying, like, so part of what is gonna come out first with the UDO proposal is, it's gonna sound really simplistic, but it's a pretty big deal, and I see a relationship for advocacy for you guys, but it is centered on major corridors, arteries, and it's gonna be looking at reducing setbacks, reducing parking requirements, maybe even getting rid of them completely within certain
Getting rid of parking.
buffers. So it's not necessarily gonna say like, we're gonna allow triple density or something like that. It'll be more nuanced where it's like, we're giving you a little bit more room to use your land, like by reducing setbacks, we're not having to have as much parking or any. That makes more projects possible. So
another key one that has a lot of discussion yet to be had in the community, and is that right now the concept of use by right, you can do XYZ by right, you don't have to go to city council for conditional zoning. Anything anywhere in the city that's over 49 units has to go before city council. And I believe that that's a real hindrance, especially in places where it's pretty appropriate to maybe have 100 units or more. And so really looking at what is eligible by right, where is a conversation that hasn't really been revisited in, I think, like 17 years. And so I grew up in suburbia, y'all. I grew up 50 miles from City Hall in Philadelphia, and I was still in the suburbs. Like, I do not want us going in that direction. We need to figure out where some of this stuff is appropriate and what these conversations.
And so what will it look, as those come up, will we be informed of those? Like, will those be on our agenda, or how could that potentially work for us to be informed?
I don't know that they would come through this committee. I think really Planning and Zoning Commission, which Jared is a liaison, and he does a lot of liaising with y'all. That's really a quasi-regulatory body that we appoint for this function. I think that being aware of what's coming up and advocating when they get on council agendas and kind of plugging into the different groups that are kind of advocating and tracking this type of stuff, but I don't know that it would come to y'all for policy guidance.
Yeah, that's fine. But yeah, I think that clarifies, like, we need to pay close attention to P and Z and what's happening there,
P&Zs
right?
are really important.
Well,
Yeah, and will be more important.
We've got a new planning study happening right now, it's out for bid this month. So we're gonna have new density maps out in the next year. And while they're being produced, we're gonna have a consultant come in and tell us that we ought to do transit.
A transit study.
Guys, what comes first, the chicken or the egg?
Tell me more, I'm not following.
The COA
Uh-huh.
is gonna be out for bid.
I'm aware that, so, the dot connecting on that.
What you're saying is there's adaptations to our planning and zoning that we wanna direct capital to
Yes.
for construction, for housing and all that kind of stuff. I contend that transportation planning follows the planning, because that's where the people will be. So I'm worried that we're gonna have somebody come in on current density plans and give us a plan that, I don't know how long it'll take, a year or whatever, but the planning people won't be finished by the time we see the outcome of a planning study, of a transportation plan. That's my worry.
The COA is not a planning study, it's an assessment of the current operation.
It's also it's a 10-year horizon, planning horizon. It's in the scope.
It's like, I mean, it's looking at the transit master plan in a high level again, but it's really focused on our current operational system, what we can make changes to at the moment.
It's like an efficiency.
It is, but I read the scope of work. People are bidding on something that says the deliverable is less detailed, but still 10 years out.
And so the concern you're saying is like, which comes first, chicken or the egg? I guess what I would say is like, in a perfect world, we have a sense, but I'm pretty proud that we have either of them in the queue at all. Mm-hmm. And them happening concurrently is how it will happen, I think.
It sounds like it.
Right, so, I don't, like, would you,
well,
what would the solution be, delaying?
I'd maybe do something like, if there's truly an efficiency piece, okay, take the 150 of it, do the efficiency, but hold back on the other. If somebody's gonna be 6 months away from a new planning study, wait for that to finish before you do the rest of the other project or something. I think we can finesse this.
So and we've got to wrap up, but what we're talking about is trying to densify existing corridors that are also happen to be our transit corridors. Mm-hmm. So we're already in alignment there, and so I think what Maggie is saying is that any UDO changes are really going to be centered around further densifying those corridors that we already have. So Tunnel Road, Merriman, Patton, Hendersonville Road, and those are already that's already where we're trying to focus our frequency. And when we expand our system, it's really about doubling our frequency, tripling our frequency on those. So
that's correct.
They're already in alignment there, and I think for transit, our study is looking at those corridors that we have right now, the ridership, and saying like, which ones are getting more ridership? Should we realign this route over here so that it doesn't go all the way up the holler, so to speak, so we can put an additional bus on the S3? That's the kind of thing we're gonna be looking at.
For the sake of time, I wanna wrap things up since we've gone over, but there's obviously a lot more to talk about on that. I hate to cut it off, but we are late. I just wanna thank all the city staff for spending time and helping us out. Yeah, Randy?
Just real quick, I want to say one of the biggest things we can do is exist. Mm-hmm. Because this commission is fully, we're fully staffed, or not fully staffed, but we have all the members we need. We show up, we have a quorum every time. Mm-hmm. A lot of commissions don't have that. And the fact that these conversations even happen advances our goals a lot, because we're talking with staff on a regular basis and they're hearing what we have to say. And so that's a huge win in itself, just that we exist and we're active, we're enthusiastic, and things are happening. So I just want to make sure that everyone understands the value of your here is huge. And I think that people have been in this business for a long time, but understand that, especially like Jessica's been in different communities, and you see if this doesn't exist, some things just don't happen because they're like, well, no one cares, or it's just something present.
Yeah, and I hope, and
Coach.
I think you're right. I think we've incrementally strengthened our body, which I think is a good thing. If we do see any commission realignment and board realignment in the future, which will certainly be consolidation, right? It won't be an expansion and adding more commissions, I would presume. Hopefully we'll be, one of the remaining standing, which would give us even more influence down the road. So I like how we've positioned ourselves. Unfortunately, we won't solve everything today. But thank you, everyone. Make sure on your way out, you come take a look at this overview map that has all of the projects that we've talked about, including Nasty Branch, which we didn't have maps for today. Is there, I will adjourn the meeting unless there are any objections.